everyone. We are very, very excited to deliver this session and have lots to share with you today, actually. I don't know if 30 minutes will be enough, but we'll try. Before we start, I want to mention again, in these sessions, this is what we try to do, is to keep it really interactive. So you can join the conversation in the chat area, share your comments, ask your questions. Let's try to keep the conversation going there. With that said, my name is Nihal Yanmaz, and I'm leading the IBM Developer Advocacy and Hybrid Cloud Build team. That's a long title, across Middle East and Africa region. And as a team, what we do is we enable developers who would like to learn new skills or improve their existing skills about certain technologies, especially the new ones like Kubernetes, cloud native, data and AI, application security, and so on. And I'll take a few minutes to talk about Code for Code, because today we are going deeper into one of the 3 themes of Code for Code this year. If you have not attended our previous events, in a nutshell, Code for Code is, Code for Code is a global hackathon that is taking place since 2018. And IBM is a co-founder in this initiative. The initiative invites developers around the world or innovators around the world to build open source solutions that address social and humanitarian issues. Every year, the winning team gets $100,000 prize money to be distributed equally among the team, and implementation support. As I said, this year, there are 3 teams. The overall theme is climate change, but within there, we have zero hunger, clean water and sanitation. And the third one, which is our topic of today, is responsible production and green consumption. You can apply to the competition as one person or build a team up to 5 people. If you don't have a team when you sign up, then you will be invited to a Slack channel where you can also find other people by networking and speaking to them. And one more thing is a final and important point is that our team is here to help with you in your Code for Code submissions. We have experts who can help you as you are building your solution. Every Monday, we have office hours that you can come and get technical support or ask questions about the initiative, or maybe ask help for tips on submissions. If you sign up to our meetup page, which we are putting in chat now, you can get notified for our upcoming events. But I'll stop here now, because we had an event in early April where we went really deep into Code for Code. We spent about an hour talking about it. So maybe, again, we can share the replay of that, link of that replay, where you can refer to afterwards, because now we have lots to cover. And as you're building your solution, it is really, really important that they are relevant, that they are solving real-world problems. And we know this might be a challenge. Maybe you have great skills. Maybe you really want to do something, but you don't know where to start. Or maybe you know where to start, but you don't have enough detail about what to do. So in order to support you in this, we have been inviting some experts to give you details about these themes, so you can understand more and find an issue to address in your solution. We had a guest speaker from Heifer International to give us some details about the hunger theme. And again, I'll ask my colleagues to add the recording link to chat so you can check it out. But today, joining me today is a very valuable guest speaker, Arzu Baltu from WWF Turkey, which is an organization I've always admired. Arzu, welcome to this session. I'm honored to host an amazing SME like yourself. Maybe could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Yes, thank you for having me here today. And it's really an honor for me to be here as well. And I'm Arzu, and I've been working for WWF Turkey for like more than 15 years now. And I'm now heading the food practice. But today I'm going to talk about responsible production and consumption. And that includes everything, not only food, but everything you can think of. So I'm going to share a few slides, but I would like this to be interactive, and you can interrupt me anytime and ask me questions or make comments about the things I'm presenting, because this is really a huge topic and it really covers lots of terms, and terminology could be a little bit, foreign for you. So just ask me anything. So with that, I'm just going to share my...
Can I just take 1 minute to
Sure,
share
sure.
on this? So yes, we have 30 minutes. It won't be enough. So I'll try to keep it as short as possible. To me, responsible production and consumption has very deep roots in the socioeconomic dynamics of our world today. Unfortunately, we are continuing to use our resources unsustainably. That is creating huge destructive impact on our planet. And on top of that, you can add the impact of climate change, right? And its effect on production. Again, I had shared this in our launch event in April, but United Nations report says the global material footprint has risen from 18% from 2010 to 2017 and 66.5% from 2000 to 2017. So you can see the acceleration. The other thing is, this is a number from 2016, almost 14% of the food produced was lost in supply chains even before it arrived to a point of sale, and which means it ended up in landfills. It started to produce methane, which is a greenhouse gas, as we know, contributing more to the climate change problem. And of course, this breaks my heart also because of the fact that millions of people are starving, where we also lose so much food on some other places on our planet. Also, there's so much increase. I think it's 38% increase in the electronic waste, which grew in the last 10 years or so. And recycling is becoming more difficult because the pieces are getting much smaller and more sophisticated. It's so labor intensive, or maybe not feasible enough to try to recycle those. So these are just a few data points. And of course, I will lead the stage to Arzu, but we know we need to reduce waste, increase use of recycled materials, increase upcycling and how we do that. We know production needs to be sustainable. We know overconsumption is consuming the resources of our next generations. And if I may say so, in a way, we are stealing from them. And at this point, we need to turn to technology, right? It could be many things. Right now, we can see AI doing crazy things. So why not really look into this issue, right? So as I said, I'll keep it short because we went into some of these things in our previous events, but we'll give it back to Arzu. And maybe, Arzu, how do you want to start? Do you want to give an overview? Or maybe I'm curious to know, how does climate change impact the way we produce and consume?
Yes, I think I should go with my slides first, and then we can carry on with the discussions, if you like. Let me start sharing my screen. Okay. Excuse me for that. Yeah. Okay. So if we want to, start with the responsible production and consumption, we really need to be familiar with the concept of sustainability, which you already know is, has a social part, has an environmental part, and an economic part. Because
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Are you sharing PowerPoint? Because we are seeing your browser.
Oh yes, I'm sharing PowerPoint. Okay.
We can see it. Maybe you want to reshare?
Yes, I'll do that. Okay. I think I did it this time. Can you see it now?
Yes, thank you.
When you think about responsible production and consumption, I think we need to be familiar with the word sustainability. But what exactly is sustainability? When we think of sustainability, we only think about the environmental part. I mean, using less natural resources and making less pollution, all that. But there's also a social part and also an economic part. In the social part, there's the social justice, this equity part, this diversity part, and the economic part. The solution, which is sustainable, has to be economically viable as well. But nowadays sustainability is not enough. We believe we should be nature positive. Because, I mean, we should be really positive, nature positive in our production, especially. The reason why we need to do that is we are in a moment of time where we are the first generation to change the way we live and change our reaction to climate change, the production systems, but we are also the last generation. If we don't change it in this generation, then there won't be a next generation with a power to change it. Unfortunately, this is quite bad news, but there's quite an urgency in this. And why we need to do that? It's not really that complex. Think of a day that you get up and you wash your face. The first thing you do is wash your face. There you're using water, and that's a natural resource. So everything we do has a footprint on nature. This is called ecological footprint, but there are other footprints that you can find. You can Google. There's carbon footprints, there's water footprints. But everything we do, brushing our teeth, washing our face, has an effect on nature. So this is really having our footprint on nature is really a problem for us at this point. The reason why we have this problem is because the Earth has a certain biocapacity, and the Earth has a certain renewal process of this biocapacity. And at this moment, we're really past this biocapacity. Our consumption rate has, if you see it on the screen, in 1960s, we were under the biocapacity. But today, we are, consuming like we have 2 Earths. But in order to make anyone understand this biocapacity, we can think of a mint plant. I mean, if you really like to drink a mint tea and you have a mint plant in your house, and the mint plant gives you only 2 leaves every day. If you drink your tea with only 2 mint leaves every day, then you're not overstepping your biocapacity. But if you start drinking your mint tea with 3 leaves every day, then after a certain time, you will be killing your mint plant because you will have consumed all the leaves of the mint plant. So this could be a really similar to biocapacity. There's a certain rate which the Earth can produce things that sustains life on Earth. So this is quite an ugly creature, right? I mean, why should we conserve this creature?
Arzu, I'm so sorry. Did you move to another slide? We can still see the second slide.
Yes, I did move to another slide. You can't see it?
I was able to see just the second one.
Okay, I'll do the sharing again. Sorry about that. Is it okay now?
Yes, I can see the creature. Yes.
Okay, it's quite an ugly creature, right? And why should we conserve this? I mean, it does have a right to live, right? But what's the use of it to human beings? It's a bat we can find in Turkey, and we do have a project to conserve this creature. But bat is a really good pollinator. It pollinates lots of fruit trees while eating them, and also disperses the seeds in the forest. So nature and the creatures in nature have lots of, systems, the services that we as humans use of. So this is another example of ecosystem deterioration. This is the Aral Lake, and Aral Lake has been one of the biggest lakes in the world, but now it has really shrunk down to like a broken heart, because the rivers that's feeding the Aral Lake has been used for cotton production in Uzbekistan. So when you direct the rivers fresh water to irrigate cotton production, then there's really none left to, fill this Aral Lake and to, continue this circularity, the circular process.
Arzu, I'm so sorry, but we are seeing slide 5, the bat still.
Again.
To click on the slide, or are you on full presenter mode?
Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know what's happening.
No problem.
But let me share my screen. I guess it's gonna... Okay, let me... Now, can you see my screen?
Yes, but can you try moving to the next slide? Yes, now we can see it. Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so this is the Aral Lake I was talking about. And now it looks like a broken heart because the rivers feeding it has been used for cotton production. So, and other than the fresh water, being in less quantity, it's being polluted with cotton production as well. The runoff from the irrigation water, the runoff from the pesticides and the fertilizers is directly flowing to the Aral Lake, and the things you see on the side, the dry areas you see on the side, has become deserted. I mean, like a desert, sorry. And the sand in the desert is really polluted. So people over there, unfortunately, face lots of cancer incidents. And why do we really need to conserve nature? Of course, climate change. And climate change is human-induced, as you already know. It's anthropogenic. So we really do need to decrease our emissions, but we also need to decrease our demand on nature. Why? Because ecosystem services, a term called ecosystem services, nature really gives us our food, our water, our genetic diversity, our fresh air, and oxygen, climate, anything you can think of, nature gives us. So what can we do? We can produce responsibly, meaning being really, really stingy in our production. So meaning using less materials. I mean, just like Nihal said, recycling, upcycling, anything you can think of. And, when consuming, consume less, and then prefer the brands that, use, any kind of sustainability certificate, like FSC, MSC, Better Cotton, Rainforest Alliance, and good manufacturing practices. So these are some of the resources that I would like you to go into, the links we're going to provide you, and maybe you can take a look at what they're talking about, especially this report that we're going to talk a little bit more about on halving the footprint of production and consumption report. It does give solution providers lots of targets to achieve responsible production and consumption. With that, I stop sharing and...
Thank you, Arzu. Thanks a lot. So maybe we can do some Q&A.
Yes, please.
If that's okay with you. And since our overall theme for Call for Code is climate change, I think you did mention in a way how climate change impacts the way we produce and consume. But I wonder if there's anything that you'd like to add. And on top of that, while you were preparing for the session, you shared with me that report that you just mentioned, halving the footprint and production and consumption, which was released recently, and it puts biodiversity at the center, which is great. I went through it and I found it extremely valuable. And maybe if you could tell us a bit more about the report and the findings, so our audience here can understand more where the actual issues are.
Sure. Actually, climate change is really linked to everything we can think of. I mean, anything we use, any material, or any activity has a certain amount of emission. Let's say these glasses. I mean, when it's being made, some kind of material extraction has been made, and that material extraction requires energy as well. So when you use energy, there's this emissions. I mean, any energy that you use, there's this emissions other than the renewable energy. Mm-hmm. So with the extraction, there's this manufacturing process, right? And then there's this logistics part of the manufacturing process. These glasses have been made, and then it's being transported to the shop that I bought these glasses from. And then when I get those glasses and use it for only like 1 year, and then it goes to waste, there is energy being consumed at each stage. So anything you can think of, if you're being stingy, then you're being sustainable. Mm-hmm. So with this report, I'm just gonna open this report. It does talk a lot about consumption and responsible consumption and production. For example, lifespan extension of products. I mean, mobile phones. We've been using mobile phones, right? And this is quite expensive to get, but most of the people use it for only 2 years and then, upgrade it to a new model. And that's really not sustainable. So we should really be thinking about lifespan extension of products. This is, of course, the production side. But as a consumer, I can also, ask producers to, increase the lifespan. There is a, certain phenomena called planned obsolescence, right? I mean, there is a certain lifespan of products being produced in factories. I mean, for example, this mobile phone, if they, planned that this should live for 2 years, it does live for 2 years, and after 2 years, it becomes obsolete, right? So this is called planned obsolescence. If it wasn't planned that way, maybe I could use it for 5 years, 10 years, or more. So we could, work on product as a service model, which, like these days, there's these car sharing schemes. If you're a young person and you don't want to, put all that money in buying a car, then you can just hire a car when you really want to use it, because most cars are being used like 10% of the time. 90% of the time, they're not being used. So there are really a lot of other models that people can think of, like lending models, like renovation of stuff. Really, the sky is the limit. Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me, Arzu? Did we lose you?
I can hear you. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I lost your video. That's why. Maybe it's me. So is there anything else you wanted to share about the report?
I think they should really go into the report and see the targets, and it will really give them quite a lot of information on the targets that they can, try to achieve. Because I believe technology should not be used for the sake of technology. It should be used for the sake of solutions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we wanted to have this session and other sessions with other experts, so that people can find the real issues, not just say, okay, I want to use this AI service. Where can I apply it? But go the other way around, which is the right way to approach it, right? You did mention a few cases where we can be more responsible, but especially in how we produce, how can we become more responsible, or how can we become more green as we consume? As we said, of course, recycling, etc. But also in terms of our habits in how we produce, for example. How can we be more responsible? Of course, if you ask everyone, everybody's saying, okay, we are trying to be sustainable, etc. But as WWF, where do you see the biggest gap in being responsible in production and consumption?
Actually, you really first start by finding your baseline. Where is your biggest impact? When you're producing something, is your biggest impact in your energy use? I mean, when you think about cement, the biggest impact is in the energy use and also material extraction. So you really should start with evaluating yourself, your baseline. I mean, maybe you're using less materials and renewable energy, but the waste you're producing is, polluting our rivers, waters, air, whatever. And as far as WWF is concerned, the biggest driver on ecosystems is food production, actually. Mm-hmm. So whatever we do, whatever we consume, the first thing is to consume less. This is also relevant to food as well, because there is this food waste issue. Like 1/3 of all food produced is wasted. But as you just mentioned, there's this hunger issue as well. And the solution is a redistribution solution. So it's really not producing more food, but distributing it more equitably. Mm-hmm. So it's really, I would really try to analyze the problem and try to find the solutions accordingly. Because I would recommend this systems thinking approach to people. I mean, where you could, think about the interconnectedness of the issues, and rather than being disconnected, and you could really think about it in a circular way, and not think about in silos, but like in emerging them together. You should really not think about the parts, but think about the whole. And you should really think about the relationships. Mm-hmm. I wonder if I'm making myself clear, but
yeah, you are. And maybe for this specific competition, maybe even this trying to build this connection among all the other different pieces of the big picture could even be a project.
Sure.
So if the company is only looking at certain things, how can we make it available? How can we use their data to show them, you think you are doing something good, but just look at this, and this is something that you can improve on. So maybe even on its own, creating that 360 view, if I may call it that way, could be a good project idea for our audience.
Yeah, and I would also advise them to think about in a multidisciplinary way. I mean, maybe these teams are only software developers, but I think they should really think about working with ecologists, biologists, or nature experts, because all the best solutions come from nature, like in biomimicry or in nature-based solutions. Really, the drop irrigation process is also derived from nature. The bugs in the deserts have a certain kind of cover, and with really small holes that dilute the water from the air in the desert. So when you replicate that pattern on the bugs, on the bug, and then you get a good solution to dilute water from the air. That's being used in the deserts in Peru right now.
Yes. Okay, another question. So you gave us a really good overview about the climate change, the responsible production, green consumption. There's, as I said, I think among the three themes, this is a huge one. It's so wide, it can include even all the other ones as well, right? But what are the main areas you would recommend to our audience to look into as they are going to leverage the technology and build solutions for sustainability? Are there any sub-themes you can think of saying, okay, here there's so much stuff to solve. Maybe you can take a look at this topic and build some like a solution to address that problem, or it doesn't have to be a problem. Maybe it can be an enhancement, improvement. So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is what are the main contributors to the issues we are seeing within this theme, where our audience can look at and say, oh, maybe I can go deeper here and build my solution for.
Sure. If they take a look at the report called Halving the Footprint of Production and Consumption, there they will see the drivers, pressures, and the states that they can work on. I can just read it now for them. The first one is material consumption. So we need to decrease our material consumption. There's also this biomass consumption. I mean, this could be anything like animal feed or biomass that we're using to produce ethanol or food, anything you can think of, or cotton for textiles. And marine resource consumption is really is huge. And land use change, biologically rich areas are being converted to agricultural land, and or as we know from the Amazons. So it's one area that they can use. There's quite a big degradation issue as well. Degradation of soils, degradation of ecosystems. They can work on that. There's this chemical pollution, as you know, air pollution, water pollution, and water flows, free-flowing rivers. And the genetic diversity loss. As you know, Anatolia is the land of wheat, and we've been losing our heirloom varieties, and they're really resilient to climate change. So, I mean, the drought we've been facing this year, wheat and barley production has really been hit hard with the drought. So we should really be keen on this genetic diversity loss. I mean, if we lose the varieties that are resilient to drought and climate change, then we do use quite a lot of opportunities. And another thing they can work on is decreasing the nutrient concentration. And what this means is the problem we're living at this moment in the Marmara Sea, the mucilage, and it's really like some kind of sticky substance on top of the sea. It's also a problem of nutrient leakage. So this is nutrient leakage from the pollution from factories and also from farms, creating, blooms of phytoplanktons. So those phytoplanktons, when they, replicate in large quantities, then they, create this sticky substance. So unfortunately, things are really linked to each other. And one last thing they can work on is the greenhouse gas concentration. So if they look really deep into this report, they can find a way, they can find an issue that they can work on. But I believe they should really go for the issue that talks their heart. Because, if it talks to your heart, then you really dig deep into the issue and you try to find the solution. If food waste if you're really keen on food waste, then go for food waste. Because everything is related to climate change. Because for producing everything, we do need energy. And energy means climate change. So it's all related to each other.
Yes, exactly. And now we have all the technology to measure and track all of this, analyze all of this, and see what we can do to stop the things that are going the wrong way, or improve certain things in a way we, maybe use less energy or less resources. Like, for example, with an IoT device, we had a MEA region winner 2 years ago, smart irrigation systems, and they were using an IoT device to measure the amount of water in the soil, so there is no overwatering or the crops don't die because the farmers didn't water them enough. This is a really basic example, but if you also, on top of that, find a way to integrate a data analysis model, or I don't know, any other model that can predict certain things, then I think it becomes like a good example of a solution where you use the data from the soil, where you maybe also leverage some weather data through some APIs, and then on top of that you analyze that data for an outcome and come up with a solution. Just a few ideas I'm just brainstorming for our audience here. And maybe I was wondering if you can give an example to a tech solution that's addressing one of these topics you just mentioned around production and consumption. Is there like a favorite solution you heard of?
Yes, but I just want to make a comment on the smart irrigation solution. We are working with farmers in Turkey, and we do use smart solutions as well. But the take-up of smart solutions by farmers in Turkey is quite low. So we should really be thinking in terms of systems. That's why I was, mentioning systems thinking. Because if you're creating a solution that no one's going to use, then what's the outcome?
Yes.
So we should, the reason why we think of considering behavior change solutions, behavior change models, is that the farmer base in Turkey is not really interested in using smart solutions at this stage, at least. Yeah. So this is, So
it's actually one of the criteria of our judging criteria for the solutions, in terms of, is it usable enough? Is it, as you said, does it fit with your audience? Maybe you're creating something amazing, but if nobody is going to use it, then it cannot be replicated or widely used. So great point, you brought that up. Thank you, Arzu.
No
so
problem.
Any favorite solution?
I do have a mobile app in my phone, but you don't really have to go for a mobile app. The solution you're aiming for could be really simple, but this mobile app is a Turkish mobile app. I wonder if you can see my phone. It's called Fazla Gıda, meaning surplus food. And these guys have created this app and talk to, let's say certain points that produce food. And if you have a, let's say, bakery, then you produce a certain amount of food. At the end of the day, there's the surplus food that you cannot sell, and you don't want to, put to waste. So you put it in this app, and then people, go there and pick it up for half price. So this is really a simple solution, but it's working.
Yes. And usually when we see a great startup, you say, oh my God, that's such a simple idea. I should have thought about that one. Usually good ideas come from simple ideas, in my view.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good example. So we're almost done, but I was wondering if you have any final tips or recommendations for our audience. You said do work on something that's close to your heart, which I agree. So you can put your passion into it. Is there any other tips you want to share?
I mean, just this multidisciplinary approach is really important for me, and this nature-based solutions. I really should say the best solutions come from nature. So I think they should really observe nature and try to replicate its solutions with using AI or the technology that we have. So the relevance part is really important again. Your audience should really be benefiting from it, and you should really aim for the outcomes. That's why they they should better, read the report and try to, go for the targets.
And go deeper. Thank you very much, Arzu, for your valuable time. I really appreciate it. You sharing all of this information with us. Thank you so much. I'm sure many people will find it useful as they are building relevant solutions, as we said, to address these problems. And thank you so much again. Thank you. Before we close, I have a few things to share. I know we have 2 minutes, but reminder that you need to submit your solutions by July 31st. The other thing is you can find all the details on callforcode.org. Last but not least, we have many resources to help you, like office hours every Monday, where we answer your questions, technical workshops, which you can also find replays about. My colleagues will put all the related links now in the chat area, so you can go there and check those out. And yes, I mean, we are coming to an end. We launched Call for Code in early April. So there's still 1 month, and I think in 1 month you can still do so many things. So again, if you need help, please reach out to us. Come to our office hours on Mondays, and refer to some other resources online. But in any case, if you really want to do something, just reach out to us. We will do our best to help you. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining this session today. Please reach out to us if you need any help. And Arzu, thank you so much again for sharing your experience with us. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me here.
It was a pleasure.
Good luck.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone, and have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye.